This is for educational use only. Our group grants permission for our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardenis, to use this as educational material.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to our presentation on one of the most important and complex topics. Let's take a look at our learning objectives. By the end of this presentation, we aim to define the term Global South and Global North, differentiate the Global South from the outdated term Third World, analyze how Latin Americans' experiences contributed to a new conception of global relations. These objectives will align with Learning Objective 6.1 to Learning Objective 6.3, and we'll walk through each one with examples, visuals, and reflections. In global studies, the global divide between the North and the South. This divide has shaped international relations, influenced economies, and impacted societies across the world. Today, we will explore its origins, evolution, and how it continues to affect global development. We will also look at how the Latin Americans helped reshape global relations and why terms like Third World have been replaced by more respectful and accurate concepts like the Global South.
What is the Global South? The term Global South may sound modern, but its roots go deep. It emerged as a response to the outdated term Third World, which was used during the Cold War to describe countries that were not aligned with either the US or the Soviet Union. Over time, Third World became a negative label associated with poverty, instability, and underdevelopment. So scholars, activists, and global leaders began using Global South to shift the narrative. The Global South includes countries in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Oceania, many of which were colonized, exploited, and left out of global decision-making. But the term isn't just about struggle, it's about resilience, cooperation, and rising influence. Today, the Global South is home to most of the world's population, and it plays a growing role in global trade, diplomacy, and innovation. From South-to-South cooperation to climate leadership, the Global South is no longer just a recipient of aid, it's a force for change.
What is Global North? In contrast, the Global North refers to the countries that are wealthy, industrialized, and politically dominant. These nations like the United States, Canada, Japan, Germany, and Australia benefited from the early industrialization, colonial expansion, and global trade systems that favor them. The Global North controls major institutions like the IMF, World Bank, and WTO, often sets the rules of global engagement. These countries have advanced infrastructure, strong education system, and high standards of living. But they also bear responsibility for climate change, economic inequality, and historical exploitation. Understanding the Global North isn't about blaming, it's about recognizing the privilege, power, and the need for more inclusive global systems.
How the global divide developed. The global divide has deep historical roots and began with colonialism when European powers exploited regions in Africa, Asia, and Latin America for resources and labor. Colonized countries were restricted from industrial development and left dependent on their colonizers. After World War II, many gained independence but faced poverty, weak governance, and limited global influence. Institutions like the IMF and World Bank often reinforce these inequalities through strict loan conditions and trade rules.
Comparing the North and South, Let's now take a closer look at the Global North and Global South side by side. This comparison isn't just about geography, it's about economic power, historical privilege, and global influence. The features of Global North and Global South is different. The economy of Global South is industrialized with high GDP, while the Global South is still developing and has a lower GDP. Infrastructures of Global North are advanced like roads, hospitals, internets, while the Global South is limited or uneven. The global influence of Global North is strong in UN, IMF, and WTO, while the Global South is often marginalized. The history of Global North is colonizers, early industrializers, while the Global South is colonized and exploited. The trade, rule, education, and health of Global North are exporters of text, capital high literacy, and advanced healthcare, while the Global South are the exporters of raw materials, struggles with access and fundings. Lastly, the climate impact of Global North is the major contributors to emissions, while the Global South is most vulnerable to climate change. The Global North includes countries like US, UK, Japan, and Germany, nations that industrialized early and now dominate global institutions. Meanwhile, the Global South includes countries like the Philippines, Nigeria, India, and Brazil, nations that were colonized, underdeveloped, and now face the challenge of catching up. This divide is not just historical, it's ongoing and undertaking. It helps us see why global cooperations and equity are so important.
Third World versus Global South. To understand the term Global South, we need to go back to the Cold War era. During that time, the world was divided into three categories: the First World, Second World, and the Third World. In the First World belongs the capitalist democracies like the US, UK, and Japan. In the Second World, communist states like the USSR, China, and Cuba. And lastly, the Third World, countries that were non-aligned, mostly in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. The term Third World was originally neutral, but over time, it became a label for poverty, war, and underdevelopment. That's why we now use Global South, a term that focuses on shared development challenges, cooperation, and dignity. It reflects a shift in mindset from being passive recipients of aid to becoming active participants in global affairs. The Global South is not just a label, it's a movement, a rising voice, and a call for fairer global systems.
Latin America's role in redefining global relations. Latin American countries played an important role in challenging the global divide. They formed regional alliances like Mercosur, promoted economic independence, and resisted foreign interventions. These efforts helped create new models of cooperation like the non-aligned movement and South-South partnerships. Latin America showed that the Global South could organize, negotiate, and lead, not just follow. Their experiences inspired other southern countries to assert their own voice in global politics.
New global relations. Today, countries in Global South are asserting more influence. Groups like BRICS. BRICS is a group of 5 countries. B stand for Brazil, R for Russia, I for India, and C for China, and lastly S for South Africa. These countries work together to promote fairer trade, and they challenge co-Western dominance like USA and Europe. The Global South is no longer just a recipient of aid, it's a rising force in global politics, economics, and diplomacy.
So let's proceed to the Philippine context. The Philippines, as part of the Global South, faces challenges like economic dependence, political instability, and vulnerability to the global shocks. But we also contribute through Asian regional cooperation, through our Overseas Filipinos or OFWs, through our growing digital economy. Our role in the Global South is active, resilient, and involving.
To conclude, the global divide shows deep inequality. Global South is more respectful and accurate term than Third World. Latin America's experiences help reshape global relations. Understanding these divides help us push for fairer systems in a more inclusive future. Let this remind us we're not defined by what we lack, but by what we work towards. The Global South is more than a label. It's a rising movement for dignity, fairness, and shared progress.
Thank you for joining us. We hope this gave you new insights into our interconnected world. Have a great day.